Hey guys, Rominating Reaper here. So yep, it's that time of the week. I'm outside the cinema and I'm ready to wax on and wax off. Yep, it is time for Karate Kid Legends. So I love Karate Kid, it's an absolute classic. The remake was alright as well. To be fair, this is bringing those two together. Obviously the franchise has had a whole new lease of life thanks to the Cobra Kai show, which, one of my favorites. So, yeah, I have my fingers crossed that this will be a worthy big screen return for this iconic franchise. But the only way to find out is to get in, get some snacks, and get seated for Karate Kid Legends. Hell yeah. Double hell yeah. So I've got my popcorn here and a Fanta ready to sweep the leg. Alright, let me show you what I'm seeing here.
Where the fuck is everyone?
Wax on, wax off. Oh shit, I just saw Karate Kid. So, Karate Kid Legends, I'm back from seeing it. This is directed by Jonathan Entwistle, who previously worked on Netflix shows like The End of the Fucking World and I Am Not Okay With This as a showrunner and director. In fact, this is actually his feature directing debut. Quite the way to transition into directing feature films, directing a new entry in the Karate Kid franchise. Especially one with the real novel hook of bringing together Jackie Chan's character, Mr. Han, from the remake, and the original kid that started it all, Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. So obviously, yes, I was really looking forward to seeing what new ingredients that this crossover would add to the franchise. But does this crossover event deliver the franchise's triumphant big screen return? Let's find out. So the film follows Li Fong, a promising student at Mr. Han's Kung Fu Academy in Beijing. Li is soon whisked away to New York by his mother after she lands a job at a hospital, where he is made to promise that he will stop fighting. This doesn't last very long, when he befriends Mia, who works at a pizza restaurant nearby to his apartment, and unwittingly crosses paths with her violent martial artist ex-boyfriend Connor Day, who challenges Lee to fight him at the Five Boroughs Karate Tournament. And so, Lee trains to hone in his kung fu skills with his old shifu Mr. Han by his side, who in turn enlists the help of his old pal Mr. Miyagi's former student, Daniel LaRusso, as the two begin to teach Lee an unorthodox fusion of the sensibilities of both karate and kung fu. So obviously, yes, there's something very exciting by having a new Karate Kid movie in cinemas after all these years, especially with how successful the franchise's run on TV was with Cobra Kai, which, yes, I am a big fan. And so obviously, yes, with that new lease of life, I was looking forward to seeing how they'd build on that momentum. And I gotta say, the end result, while certainly doesn't reach the all-time classic heights of the original film, nor does it even reach the peaks of the TV show, it does at least satisfy in its own right. Yeah, it should prove to be a bit of a crowd pleaser and just an overall very fun time at the movies. Now, what this film does is obviously stays very faithfully to a lot of the proven story beats of the Karate Kid franchise. But what it does very well is it actually imbues it with its own distinctive energy, its own flair. It keeps up a very good pace throughout its runtime with a lot of, distinctive stylistic flourishes, notably some really cool stylized title cards and edits, which feel perfectly in line with the current social media age. It keeps up a lot of momentum throughout that runtime, even if its sort of reliance on quick edits and montages can sometimes render the story a little bit rushed, leaving some of its character dynamics by the wayside, notably Lee and his mother. But the film more than makes up for this, but with just how likable the characters are. I mean, obviously, Ben Wang does a great job as Lee. He's effortlessly charismatic and likable, but also has plenty of agile physicality, which really sells the fight scenes, a particular highlight being one in an alleyway. And the choreography in these fights is excellent, even if at times the fights can be a little reliant on close-up shots, which don't allow you to fully appreciate the choreography on display. But they keep up that fast-paced energy of the rest of the film. It's very, very well done. And obviously, yes, Wang's dynamic with a lot of the other characters is, super charming, which, I think saves it from falling into, mawkish cliche territory. Notably, you've got the relationship between Lee and Mia, played by Sadie Stanley. The two of them have, sort of real easy chemistry, which allows the audience to buy into their relationship. I also quite enjoyed the character of Alan, played by Wyatt Oleff. He is pretty funny. I also enjoyed the character of Connor, played by Aramis Knight, who is just such an over-the-top, larger-than-life villain that you just kind of can't help but be entertained by him. Especially in one scene where he walks down a corridor just aura farming. It's absolutely glorious. Now, a notable thing that is not mentioned in the advertisements for this is a subplot involving Joshua Jackson as a former boxer. Now, to its credit, that is something new, and I do commend that. But, where it risks falling into being an unnecessary detour, it is, saved by, again, the film's, very high energy delivery and just how likable the character dynamics are. Now, for all the energy the film has, though, there is one area where it kind of suffers, and that is in its soundtrack, which is a bit of a mixed bag. That it's very much just a grab bag of trending TikTok hits, sort of like Suicide Squad's soundtrack all the way back in 2016. Just looking at what artists are in the charts and making sure they're featured in some capacity. I will say though that hooligan needle drop, my face just lit up. So it does work sometimes though. Now, where the film really kicks into high gear is in its final act, where Jackie Chan's Mr. Han becomes a lot more of a prominent presence. I really enjoyed what they did with his character throughout the film. To be fair, they added a lot of depth to him, and also built on Mr. Miyagi in a very interesting way. And it helps that Chan is very, very funny here. He is easily a standout. But also, again, he's not getting any younger, but he's still effortlessly physical. He is great. And I very much enjoyed his dynamic with Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso. He's just very likable as always, and the two do make for a very fun pairing. Even if Macchio especially is not anywhere near as prominent in the film as you might expect, really showing up only for that final act. But with the sort of assortment of fights and training montages, it really does make great use of that New York setting. Very much making use of the New York streets and skyline. As it reaches this very fast-paced and energetic climax with the Five Boroughs Karate Tournament. A particular standout moment being the showdown in the sky, which makes ample use of its high energy choreography to deliver some really satisfying, exciting, exhilarating moments. This is where the film really reaches its peak. And it ends the film on a real strong note that will likely leave most audiences very satisfied. I will admit, I also loved the shit out of that cameo. Yeah, that was an absolutely glorious moment. But despite all this though, despite all these exciting returns and crossovers, the film actually works very, very well as a standalone offering. Like, yeah, you'll get a lot out of this if you're already a fan of the franchise, but it's surprisingly accessible for newcomers as well. So I'll definitely recommend seeing this on the big screen, even if you're not too familiar with the franchise. Overall, Karate Kid Legends may have its shortcomings in its storytelling, but through its very likable characters, exciting fight scenes, and overall unique energy, it does bring something new and entertaining to the franchise that really helps it stand apart. Out of 10, Karate Kid Legends gets a 7. So yeah, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Karate Kid Legends? What did you think of it? What did you make of it in comparison to the other films in the franchise, like the original, or indeed the Cobra Kai TV series? And would you like to see a sequel? Would you like to see more of Lee Fong? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.